Two. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Breaking Free Podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis. Today, very grateful, very humble to be joined by Alex Saunders from Nuggets News. A few guys may not have heard of Alex or Nuggets News. So, Alex, welcome to the show, firstly, mate, and just let my audience know a bit more about you and the platform that is Nuggets News. So, welcome, mate. Happy to have you here.
Thanks, mate. So yeah, Nuggets News is 9 years old now, helping people understand how the world works. Everything from health to investing to conspiracy, and all that's become obviously pretty popular the past couple of years. Before that, I was a bit of a cypherpunk. So I grew up in computers and with conspiracies, and in the threads and the chat rooms that a lot of people wouldn't have heard of, or whatever. And even before that, I remember when we first got the internet back in '99. I was kind of into UFOs and aliens in grade six. So I don't know. I don't really know what. I always saw the world differently for some reason, and I was always into sport, obsessed with how the body works and how the mind works, and studied pharmacy at uni. I realized that was all corrupt, so I quit being a pharmacist in 2017 to start the podcast and the show, and been doing that ever since. So yeah.
Yeah, what was the big thing for you? Like, I know for me, mate, the child trafficking stuff. So I watched the Epstein doco, which was sort of my awakening. Then I watched it, and then the day after that, I caught up with Dale, who we just spoke about before, and he said, "Oh, I asked him about Australia's involvement, and it was Rachel Vaughan, Fiona Barnett, and Rena Michelson, and that was sort of my journey." What was it for you, or was it like a staggered thing? Because for me, it was like child trafficking, fucking vaccinations was like all everything at once. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a bit like that. I think it's a process for everyone. I mean, I always knew the government was corrupt and the banking system was
Yeah.
corrupt, but it wasn't until you go to that next level about, yeah, the child stuff, and then that ties into obviously ancient royal bloodlines and why they're doing all this, and you just keep getting deeper and deeper. And even when COVID came around, I was kind of already anti-pharmacy, right, anti-big
Mm.
pharma. Um, but again, you're never quite sure. But these days, there's just so much brilliant research and documentaries that it's overwhelming that all of that was just such a fraud, and I never got the vax. But I know the pressure on a lot of people to get that was immense, right? So
Mm.
this is kind of all part of what we're going through now. Is how do we help people physically, mentally, spiritually, with everything that's going on that's come to the surface about all the ways that they're kind of poisoning us, all these evil elites.
Yep, 100%. And I didn't get it either. And that was the birthing of this podcast. I used to be a teacher and stuff. That a lot of my listeners know that. And yeah, birthed this podcast just from, you know, just going against the grain and doing something else. You know what I mean? Just yeah.
Yeah, well, for me with the vax, like I said, I was already kind of skeptical of the entire vaccine schedule
Mm.
at that point, and it was when they were pushing mRNA, which had never been used in humans before, and saying it was safe in like pregnant women and then onto children and stuff. That to me was just insanity. It's the number one
Yeah.
rule in medicine: do no harm and don't inject things that we don't know the long term side effects for into women and children. And that, so that was the big red flag for a lot of people there, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. And then, I looked at Nuggets News and I listened to your podcast with Adrian, and you were talking a bit about how it just started off as a platform that was about the banking system and investing. Like, how did it end up being what it is now?
Well, so when I was really getting sick of pharmacy, and I was always deep into like gold and silver and crypto and conspiracy. So I had this urge and this calling to start a YouTube channel. And initially, I was going to just talk about pharmacy corruption, right? But this was sort of 2017 when crypto, that first year, it kind of went mainstream and had its first bubble. And
Mm.
so I did a video about, well, just what is Bitcoin? And then the comments were like, well, how do you buy it? And then it was like the next day, well, how do you store it? And it kind of became, what do you think about Ethereum? And it became a crypto channel kind of by default because that was such a popular topic. That's what got the views. But we always spoke about gold and silver and world news and corruption and stuff as well. Um, Psychedelics, we always spoke about a bit of everything. But these days, well, crypto's kind of been captured a fair bit now by, like the Black Rocks of the world, and the battle is on to try and keep that decentralized and have some more privacy features and all that type of thing. I think it's still our best shot to defeat the banking system, and blockchain decentralized technology is still our best shot to defeat big tech and build a new decentralized internet and protect our data and privacy, right? So, yeah, the battle is on in many fronts at the moment with everything we're living through, right?
Yeah, 100%. They're actually like, they say they are wild times, and we all chose to be here for like a massive reason. And for us, it's like remembering that and knowing that at the end of it, we're going to be okay. Like that's like the reminder I give my audience a bit is that we're actually going to be okay. You just got to navigate the fucking Titanic before it hits the iceberg.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I kind of have this saying, survival of the wisest, because if
Mm,
people are just going to bury their head in the sand and think that this is all conspiracy, things are going to keep getting weirder. But
mm,
for people that are kind of awake or waking up to all of this, then you can start to do all these things to keep your body and your mind and everything healthy. There's been such an effort to poison and dumb us down. It's a war on consciousness to forget, make us forget our who we truly are and the spiritual side of all this. And it all becomes more and more apparent when you're learning what these evil people are doing with the mind control, the torture, and all these experiments. There's a reason they're doing all this. And there's a reason why you feel so good when you start to wake up and get really healthy. And knowledge is power.
100%. And what is it? What do you do? How do you keep yourself? You look pretty physically healthy just from the Zoom here. Like, what do you do in your everyday life to keep yourself sharp?
So the top tips I would give to people would be a high quality water filter to get that fluoride, all the pesticides, herbicides, everything else they're spraying in the skies now. That's probably the number one thing, I think,
Mm,
water. Then from there, you just want to try and eat from nature, foods that are from nature. So everything they're doing to genetically modify or spray foods or give us seed oils, things that don't exist in nature, it's pretty basic. Go back to eating foods from nature,
yeah.
fruit, vegetables, meat. If it came from nature and it's been around forever, that's a good thing. Um, Other top tips, I guess, exercise. I don't do it every day or anything, but I think, just going to the gym or lifting weights once a week or doing some yoga or whatever. You've got to use your body and strain, to stay fit, healthy. Sauna is one of the best ones to detox as well. I do cold plunges as well, a bit in winter, but I don't obsess over these things. I try and get in a decent routine. But for me, the number one diet wise is fasting as well. I don't
Yeah.
normally eat until anywhere from late morning until late afternoon. If I've had a busy day and I'm not hungry, I won't eat. I don't think humans were ever
I
woke
agree.
up and had a heap of food, particularly crappy sugar and refined carbohydrates just laying around.
Absolutely. Hmm.
So it's just getting back in touch with natural cycles. And another big one of those is light. Most people are
Yes.
deficient in vitamin D. I honestly believe that all these toxic sun creams are the cause, and seed oils and stuff, of why Australia's leading the world in skin cancer. It's not the
Agreed.
sun. Obviously, common sense, if you don't lay out in the middle of that period of the day, if you haven't built up a bit of a tan or whatever. So you still got to use common sense. But, no, I rarely use sun cream at all now. Just trying that vitamin D, because it is the backbone of immune system, hormones, circadian rhythms, and all these people now, in the matrix, right? People work in office buildings, artificial lights. I think the stat is 90% of people worked outdoors in the 50s, and now it's 90% indoors 2 generations later, right? And so all this has got these effects that are far more significant than not having a tan or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's their slogan? It's been their slogan like 30 years. There's nothing healthy about a tan. Like it's right there in front of you.
Yeah. Well, they've made people afraid of the sun. Don't
Mm,
stare into the sun. So I sun gaze,
same.
morning or night. It's incredible. You've obviously witnessed, like the plasma ring and the middle goes black, and it's an incredible experience staring at the sun
Mm,
early or very late in the day. Yeah.
100%. And you talk a lot about it too. Like they use that fear to their advantage. It's like a collective thing. Like they use well, not really, we're not in fear, but like the fear of humanity to be able to steer the society in the direction that they want it to go. And fear and mind control and poison are their three most fucking prominent tools.
Yeah, and you can apply that, that thought logic to anything, right? Like, they demonized fat and told everyone sugar was good, and again, paid off the people that run the studies. Fat from animals, which has been around and again eaten forever, all of a sudden it's bad and it's killing people and heart attacks. It's just not
Mm,
true.
mm,
The vaccine schedule, it's probably the one that pulls on the heartstrings the most. Oh, if you don't give your kids these 90 injections, they're going to die of these things. That now you go back and you reread that literature, and a lot of it was just caused by malnutrition. There's a lot of benefits to getting some of these diseases, which were pretty mild, that used to mean a couple of days off school. Now everyone's like fearful and just
Yeah.
wants to inject for everything. So yeah, everything they do is satanic inversion to make something good bad, and this obviously gets to the top of the cult and these secret societies and everything and all this evil.
Yeah, 100%. And for someone that's just freshly listening, I'll just ask you, what is satanically inverted?
What does it mean? Or
Yeah, for someone that's listening and watching right now that doesn't know, what is satanically inverted?
well, it basically just means trying to turn things that are good and natural, because we live in a world, we're born in nature, a place that has plenty of food, water, energy, abundance, enough for everyone. And so they have to start to capture things, right?
Mm,
Um, and control things, the flow of money, the flow of energy, all this type of thing. They're trying to build us into these eventually complete 15-minute cities and lock us all down, right?
hmm
So to do that, they have to start to invert things that are good. They have to tell you that they're bad and turn it into like a fear response. So again, making foods that aren't natural, fluoridating our water. Again, I spoke about water being the most important, right? You could just go on and on with all these examples where energy should be free, food should be free, people living in communities, everyone has enough. Instead, the wealth distribution, the top 1%, it's become so obvious now. These people sitting on golden thrones, the royal families, or at the Vatican, or politicians preaching to everyone else about how they've got to, we need this new carbon tax, or you can't travel, or
hmm
whatever it is. It's just all this BS, that people are seeing through it now, because it's got so far out of whack, the disparity with all these things, that it's obvious for anyone to see now.
100%. And you were talking a lot about community as well. I'll circle back to that too. I'm a big believer in Alex that we're eventually going to go back to the community thing. Like we're all going to be starving for connection because they're bringing all the AI tech and all this stuff, keeping us online the way we are today. Like I think a lot of people are just craving that human connection and just that tribal community aspect. I see us going back to something like that in the future.
Yeah, I completely agree. And not everyone will, right? There'll be people that maybe
Correct.
stay in the cities, and maybe that's like for more money and it'll be material things.
Mm.
This gets into something I speak about, the dopamine serotonin axis
Yes.
as the yin and the yang in the brain. And all our modern society is geared towards dopamine. Everyone's addicted to gambling apps, dating apps, porn,
Yeah.
money, social media, you name it. It's all dopamine, 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 vaping, gaming. Um, Naturally, we should have a balance, and dopamine should come from natural things that require
Yes.
effort and reward.
Mm.
But serotonin is depleted in our modern society, which is true connection, like you're talking about, community, love, like wanting the best for others and everyone around you, being in touch with nature. These are the receptors that psychedelics, again, which they made illegal and demonized, and you're a weirdo if you take them. These are all the things that I think most cultures used to either heal trauma annually, or as a ceremony annually, to get like spiritual wisdom, open your mind, however you want to think about it. So yeah, this is such an important part of that community, which people are already, this is a huge trend, leaving cities and getting to the country and connecting with like-minded people. And probably another important point is it's pretty lonely, right? If you're the first one of your friends to wake up
That
and all
was
your
me.
friends and family are still asleep.
Yeah, that was me. And, I lived through that time, 2020. I had Dale, obviously, and then I was on my own too. But then my brother came with me on the journey as well. And, you know, it's interesting looking back now, like six years ago, like even with like my family, like, yeah, my dad's like, yeah, awake and can see the corruption for what it is. It's like, they eventually have to see something for that to shift. And, my family have now seen or experienced something and gone, oh shit, maybe Nathan was actually right about some of this stuff.
Yeah, well, the programming techniques that they've used are so advanced that
Yeah.
people are under this kind of hypnosis spell. And so you can't force someone to wake up or break their programming, right? Because if someone's been told, COVID's a good example,
Yeah.
repetition, fear 100 times a day, and all that stuff through the media, on the radio, posters everywhere, you couldn't get away from it, right?
Mm.
So it takes a very strong will and having control of your thoughts and that, which most people don't do in any aspect of their lives. And these are the type of things that meditation, breath work, psychedelics, self development kind of teachers to control your thoughts, and observe why you're thinking one way or emotionally reacting one way. So this is pretty deep stuff about psychology and the programming. And again, this is all military grade stuff now that is
Correct.
coming to you through your screen, your TV. They know how to program you. And so, wise man once said the hardest part of waking up is unlearning everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And my whole life from probably the end of 2019 to now has been one big unlearning of everything I've learned about inside the mainstream school system. I reckon that's a big one too. And,
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I've ranted and raved about that for years now. Like the school system is like right up there.
So, I mean, I do a bit of meditation and, I'll use psychedelics to try and, explore different ideas and that type of thing as well. One idea that came to me the other day was that most people are still at school upstairs, like in the mind. They've never grown up. And so if you think about these power structures rather than community where everyone's equal and you learn off each other and teach each other in community, the school system is the teachers in control, then the principals in control of everyone there. And then you go out into the real world and it's your boss or your manager,
Hmm.
and there's a pyramid structure, a hierarchy, and then it's government, and then it's TV and media. So all these structures in our lives are handing over our power or energy or being told you need to listen to someone that's above you and better than you. And often these people are obviously like idiots or psychopaths, right? Just pushing agendas or whatever. And so all of that is just teaching people, training people to regurgitate what they say, otherwise you don't pass school. And again, we have all these smart people that I went to uni with, and again, some of these people are very well-meaning people. They're not evil, but they've just been trained their whole life to regurgitate what's in the textbook or on the
Correct.
computer software now as the doctor. And if you actually say to them, if you surveyed all the doctors around Australia and said, how many people have you ever healed back to full health? It would be less than
Yeah.
1% of patients, but
100%.
they never think about that. I'm working in healthcare and we don't make anyone healthy. Aside
Mm.
from obviously emergency medicine, you're in a car crash and they stitch an artery back together, modern imaging techniques or whatever. Some of it's great and it's helpful and whatnot. But chronic illness of the physical body, mentally and spiritually. And this is why we're living through this mental health epidemic. And it's kind of, I think spirituality is a big part of healing mental health because
I
people are
agree.
looking around going, I don't want to live in this world. I'm never going to afford a house. People are shallow and all that true connection. People are just like kind of empty inside. And once you wake up to all this, it's hard at first, but then
Hmm.
it's like life becomes amazing once you realize the truth and why everything's weird. And it's nothing wrong with you. It's wrong with the world and everyone in the matrix.
Fucking well said. I couldn't even say any better myself. 100%. And it's like I talk a lot about, connecting those world truth dots. Like there's so many people out there in our space, Alex, that can connect those world truth dots, but as soon as you stand them in front of a mirror, mate, they just go to water. Like there's dots to connect inside your own life and the universe. Max Egan says it. He said it on my show a couple of times. I say it too. Like it is actually the universe is a mirror. It literally mirrors us back to our reality, and that's the most like powerful thing. I heard Max say that like 7 years ago. I'm like, it's so fucking true.
Oh, absolutely. And if, like you say, if you're not willing, even if you're kind of awake, or you think you're awake, kind of thing, or you're on the journey, you're waiting for other people to change the world and that type of thing. So
Yeah,
if you're not willing to do the work and change yourself, like why other people around you all sitting there kind of doing the same thing, waiting for someone else? And this ties into like, religion and again, politics, all these power structures, waiting for someone else to come and save you. Whereas there's 8 billion of us and only 13 bad bloodline families or whatever it is at the top. It's a tiny amount of people controlling
100%. We have all the power, and the school system, TV, government, all these structures will say you have no power. You're weak. You're sick. You all these things. You're a sinner. Talk about religion. It's the same regurgitation bullshit when we actually have all the power inside of us. I was talking to this guy. I live on the sunny coast, and Moffat. This is a good example, actually, Alex. I'm going to tell you this. The Moffat Beach like pine trees down there are like significant symbolic to the local area here, and the council were wanting to chop them down. 30,000 people signed the petition to not get them chopped down. And I was talking to this guy on the ocean. I said, "Can you imagine if we all said no 6, 7 years ago. Can you imagine if we all said no? How much different would our society be? He's like, didn't really know much about much. He's like, yeah, you're right. It's a very powerful word. No, I said, yeah, it is. I said it's the most powerful word in the English language.
Oh, absolutely. And the
Yeah,
same again. It kind of surprises me how people get people want to go to all these protests for all these different reasons and all the divide and conquer that they've put us into. But yet, when it comes to like all this pedophilia
yeah,
and Satanism and stuff, like people aren't marching on the hundreds of thousands of people demanding the list of Aussie politicians and the people in the Wood Royal Commission list, and like, oh, why aren't we all getting together to we can worry about our other issues and what we want
agreed.
society and politics to look like later, but nothing's going to change while these people are still in control.
I agree, and that was my next point too. It's like we can band together. Like we got to put our chips and our pitchforks down of all this divide and conquer, this whole men women thing, fucking transgender, the bloody meat versus vegan debate. You got sunscreen versus. It's like just put all our chips down. Let's just all come together for one common goal: freedom, and then we'll work out the rest. Who cares about the shape of the earth? Fucking whatever. It's like let's just stop arguing about all these mundane things and we'll work out the truth later. Let's just defeat what's currently in front of us, and that is the evil that currently exists here.
Yeah, well, they're just rolling out the New World Order agenda, right? So as long
Mm.
as you're bickering over whatever, they don't care what you're bickering over.
No, they don't. 100%. And they want us fighting over all this stuff. It's like, well, let's just come together. Let's all band together. And there's so much power in that, and so much power in us as humans that we can. Yeah, it's
And
just so
this
big.
division is like a relatively new phenomenon. I mean, I remember playing like always playing footy and cricket and other sports and stuff, and even parents talking. And man, can you remember like people talking about like politics or like all these new agendas and stuff? It's all a result of, again, devices being able to program people faster, look at what's happening now to these kids in schools and stuff.
Yeah,
And none of this is possible in a community setting or when parents have a real good relationship with the kid and they're teaching them things. And some of the stuff now that they're teaching kids, right, you wouldn't get away with it in our grandparents' day. Like, granddad would be in
100%.
there and knocking the teacher out if someone had tried to poison the kid's mind with some of the stuff they're doing
Yeah,
nowadays.
I've had Craig Cole on this show, so if anyone's I don't know whether you know Craig Cole, but he's big on the leave our kids alone. And if anyone's out there new to this platform, go back through the backlog because Craig and I unpacked what they're doing in Victoria, Alex, right now. And even from my experience being inside the school system, like they added this into the curriculum about 2017, 18. I was just when I finished in uni. And what they're doing now is that if you have a child come up to you as a teacher and they say, "Look, I'm not sure if I'm a male or a female," they don't even ring the parent. Like they're ushering them straight into a meeting with the wellbeing principal, vice principal, and then ring the parent after and saying, "Oh, we've just had little Johnny here," and then they're like, he's been in a meeting with these people. It's like the parents finds out last. It's so wrong, eh?
Yeah, and again, as libertarians and people that believe in freedom, people can express themselves however they want, and this is the same for whatever women's rights or gay rights, whatever. If you're not harming other people or children, do whatever you want, but don't force it on other people and children.
Mm,
And these movements have been hijacked by this satanic cult, and they've radicalized crazier and crazier to the point that this transgender stuff, and it's pushed by the celebrities the most and all these things. This is part of the satanic agenda and their Baphomet and androgynous god. It all ties through to the same evil cult at the top once you keep digging down to every single agenda that they're doing.
mm. And it's so in your face. I've written like song reviews just going through the music of today and the performances that they do on stage and like it's all there right in front of you. Like
Olympic opening ceremony,
yeah.
like movie, like it's once you know what to see and you understand symbolism and
Mm,
the occult, then it's just everywhere, right? I did
it
that video
is.
today showing everything in Canberra, all the occult
Yeah.
symbolism. Yeah.
Yeah, I went up to Canberra with Dale a few years ago, mate, and that was that I think it was that rally, that big rally in 2022 and they were just about to bring the jab in and the things that they were doing in Canberra up there, or down there now, down there 4 years ago with the whole of the 5G stuff and what they were doing energetically to people. I don't know whether you were there, but I lasted 3 hours and I had to get out of there.
Yeah, no, I wasn't there, but I remember seeing the energy sound, was it acoustic weapons or whatever
Yeah,
they were using. There's
yeah,
still those videos on BitChute you can go and watch of what the police were doing to people. Yeah.
yeah. And just to circle everything back to, like, if someone out there is listening to this and they have absolutely no idea what we're talking about, what would be your advice to that person to say, hey, let's start here? What would you say?
As in like how to start your waking up
Yeah,
process of.
yeah,
I mean, just start watching documentaries. And again, the censorship on YouTube has been repealed massively in the past 2 years. You can pretty much say anything now, which is surprising, right? But they were losing such ground to Rumble, and BitChute and Odyssey, these alternate platforms. So, um, yeah, YouTube's probably got whatever doco you want now. If you can't find a good one, but just 9/11 or COVID or whatever things you've kind of had suspicions about, the moon landing, NASA, Tartaria, and our history is
yeah,
another super
true.
fascinating one. So any topic like that, instead of watching mind-numbing Netflix each night, the real world and our real history is way more exciting and incredible
100%.
than anything on Netflix or any of these crappy Hollywood movies these days. So just that's kind of been my life, right? For 25 years, I've just like watched docos or whatever every day. I've never been the sort of person to watch TV.
Mm. Yeah, I'm the same. I've in the last 7 years, I watched that Epstein one on Netflix, but then, then you find the fall of the cabal and you find all the other ones, like far out. Like even a good one I was talking to someone about yesterday was like The Devil We Know. That's still on YouTube, and that's the one about microwaves.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if I've seen that one.
That's a good one.
Europa, The Last Battle is a really good one about the other side of World War II that'll wake you up pretty quickly. I mean, some of these ones about the history of like Israel and how they stole the nukes, it's just also relevant to everything happening now.
Yep.
Man, I could just go on and on, but it's basically choose your conspiracy and go and find a couple of good docos on it and watch it. And you don't have to agree with everything in every one, but it's just starting to join those dots and go, that makes sense. It'll resonate with you, and then it'll just keep going, joining to another topic, and eventually it all ties together.
Yeah. And I often say too, like, don't let this information consume you either. I just went to everything and just found about, watched some child trafficking stuff and then just went each rabbit hole in a very short amount of time. It does take a lot out of you, especially when you're learning that the whole world to be true is a lie. And for me, I just went fucking balls deep into it and just consumed me for probably 12 months, 2 years. And I just say, give yourself, still live your life, still do things, but just circle back and just know that this stuff does exist.
Yeah, it's like Neo in the Matrix, right? When he gets plugged in, and it's once something cracks in you and you start to wake up, and then you've got all these docos on your playlist, and you probably get that gut feeling, well, oh my God, I think everyone's been right, these crazy people, and it's hard not to just keep going hard at it. But part of that process is like any emotional trauma or any loss, right? When you
Agreed.
realize everything's a lie, it's actually that, what is it, 5 stages of grief,
Mm.
denial, anger, acceptance, and it's all that same process. People call it the dark night of the soul or the
So, yeah.
hero's journey, whatever you want to call it, but that is a very real phenomenon. And
Mm.
a lot of people are probably going through that in some capacity now, right, with the
Mm.
Epstein stuff coming out. um,
Yes.
but
Wanted
like
to
I said
touch on that.
before, once you get through it all, you start to view life in this completely different way, and you can still kind of have a foot in the matrix, and people still have to earn money and have a job, right? And you're going to keep playing sport, hanging out with your friends, and not all of them are going to be awake, but how much it's already changed in the past 2 years now, where you do have at least a few people, and you can chat to about these things, or have an online community podcast you follow, whatever, so you don't feel alone.
Mm.
And then I think, yeah, people don't go back into the matrix. People only keep waking up, and it's happening faster than ever.
Yeah, it is. And even some of the conversations I'm having with the younger people of today, just in my everyday life, just some of them reading the Epstein files and even just learning about Macca's having human meat in it. I said, well, sometimes I'm like, I've known this for like 10 years, but it's like, look at your other fast foods. He's exactly the same. And I was talking to someone on yesterday too. I said, "Oh, you know how you got human meat in your Maccas and your fast food and all that?" I said, "Well, you might want to have a bit more of a look at your Cadbury chocolate and fucking just."
Yeah, well, I mean, it changes once you know all this, and they're deliberately poisoning, like you said, sugar, seed oils, fructose, all this stuff. It's different to I know chocolate's unhealthy, or I know Macca's is unhealthy, but still having it as a treat. It's a different mindset to like, no, this is the satanic cult trying to slowly poison and kill us all.
Yeah,
That
that's
will
true.
make people cut out bad habits.
Yeah,
And I'm not saying I don't still enjoy, a few beers on the weekend or still have like treats or outlets here and there, but completely being in control of your decision rather than that person that can't break a bad habit. When you start to picture it as no, they're actually evil people trying to slowly kill me, and I'm not going to obey that system, it'll just force you onto this better path of all aspects of your life.
yeah, and that's exactly right. And one of my big motivating factors of getting back in the gym was a personal thing, but it was also like, well, those people that I don't think have any power at all. I call them misleaders of our society. They want me on the couch watching porn. So I'm like, I don't want to do that because they actually put porn here. Had a very big porn problem. I'm very open about that over my teens and early 20s. But they wanted me doing that because I was
Yeah,
easy to rule and govern and control my mind. I'm like, you know what? I'm putting that away and I'm going to focus on my own vessel that I've inhibited for this experience, and I'm going to get the best out of it that I can.
yeah, and I touched on all those dopamine things before, and all these families are kind of it's all owned all these companies right at the top when you start to look into it, and the
Mm.
amount of research that they go into for the algorithms um, to send you a notification for the gambling app or the porn site or whatever it is, they really know how your brain is wired more than you do because we're not taught any of this at school, and so
Nah.
they have the advantage over you. And this is why knowledge is power, and learning about these things, you go, they're trying to wire me to do that because, and I can understand that now, and I'm not going to let that happen to myself. Yeah,
Yeah. And you were talking about repetition earlier as well. Like they know this MK Ultra game. They know how this works. And if they can use, I show in my coaching and some of my content that there's a video on YouTube where Max Majors on America's Got Talent from 2020. And he used his welcome video. He had pictures of the sun and he had 4 reps of the sun, like behind him on a bloody
I've,
coaster. And
I
I don't
think
think
I've
you've seen
seen
that
this
video.
one.
Yeah, it's a ripper.
Yeah.
And I show them and go, well, they use that subtle programming behind you that you may not be able to see to be able to get Howie and everyone else in the world watching Zoom to draw suns. And it's like it's right there in front of you. This guy just laid it all out straight out there. Like awesome, awesome resource.
Yeah, and now it's gone a step further, right, with how advanced technology you've got with the actual flickering of the light in screens and
Correct.
5G and frequencies, things that you cannot even sense that are putting your brain into that alpha state or the theta state, and more programmable suggestible states as well. And this is why people kind of they say, "I can't put my phone down," or "I keep mindlessly scrolling," or
Yeah.
whatever it was. I feel like I was under hypnosis during COVID, and now I kind of get it. Well, that was all because of what they were doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I was very much on the side of during it all going, if you can't see it, like fuck off, fuck you. But it's like, no, no, no. Like there's people that come into my life and have taken that and have said, oh, maybe you're right and I regret my decision now.
Yeah, I mean, it's one
Like
of
I
those
got that
things.
open arms for them now.
Yeah, 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 and it's always good when people do wake up and come back to you. But again, you can't force people to wake up, and often it pushes them away further.
That is true.
And we're not here to be like, I told you so, I was right, you were wrong, or anything. We just want people to wake up because the humanity could be amazing once we get rid of these bad systems, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's definitely that process, and I think like empathy and authenticity and kind of like love or whatever, like you're way better chance showing those to people and acceptance and going, that's fine if you don't agree or whatever. And this is why I think that and planting little seeds. But if your anger, emotion, and these negative, you're just feeding into the kind of the same fear that the elites are pushing, right?
100%. Yeah. I could, yeah. And it's also that, like, what they do with the news too, which is what I've seen in your content. What they do with the news is they can create the problem, they get you the reaction, and then they get you the solution, right? Like David Icke put it out beautifully like 40 years ago. But that's their game, though. Like, we they use our unconscious to manifest their whatever agenda. But if we can, as you say, we talk a lot about in the self development space, you can control your thoughts and control your reality. You're not letting them do it. So they're not being able to manifest their reality. You're being able to manifest your reality. What do you want? Not what they want. What do you want as the human? It's so simple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, we do manifest our reality. Like I said before, once people learn to make that change in themselves, and then it starts the 100 monkey effect where it spreads, right?
Mm.
And this gets into the actual agendas themselves. So you can go back and look at everything from, World War Two. If once you knew the agenda, then you see where it's going in the whole playbook, or 9/11, or COVID, or even super controversial modern one, right? Bondi. Look at the lead up to
Mm.
that, where there was all the staged, fake, debunked anti-Semitic attacks throughout Australia, and all the police and even the AFP said no, these weren't anti-Semitic attacks. It was all debunked, but they still pushed it. And then what exactly happened on Bondi? I think in the end, probably the closest to the truth is that those guys were on the watch list. They went over to a well-known place where people get radicalized, and it looked like it was kind of maybe allowed to happen. Right? How do you let people
Mm.
in? With everything they knew. And I think there was more info about what ASIO knew just came out yesterday as well. Either way, it was all heading in this direction to pass more anti Semitism laws. But then what else did they pass straight away? Free speech. They banned protests
Yes.
in cities. It's just all just the freedoms that they want to take away as part of the New World Order agenda. And you look at the stats of how many people are shot, or these crimes, or whatever happens around Australia every day, men's suicide, there's nothing in the news about that and pushing the agenda and building up for a big inflection point change. But when it's this, they can magnify this event. And yeah, I don't think we've seen the end of some of this as well. I think they're really going to keep pushing this divide and conquer. Our next big stage of it is trying to kick off civil war between
Yes.
Muslims and Christians in all these Western countries, right?
And a lot of people remember Port Arthur as well. If you look at that as well, like there was an agenda there to get the guns off us. And you look at the work of Paul Motor with the WASP files, like he's pretty much debunked that whole thing. And that work is
Oh,
phenomenal.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, there's people down here, particularly gun owners and stuff, that over the years I've spoken to, and they've told me about pretty much that, yeah, and books to read and people they know, cops that were there, all this sort of stuff. So anyone with eyes to see knows that none of that adds up. And yeah, Paul's done some amazing work. And we're only, what, a month and a bit away from that 30-year reunion now. And I really am wondering if that's going to kind of get a bit more public awareness in the consciousness, because that is like our 9/11, right? If people
Yeah.
really, everyone understood that and how evil the government are, as well as um, all the pedo stuff coming out now. Once you understand that they're willing to do these absolutely depraved evil things, all the smaller stuff like vaccines or whatever, it's just that's a 1 out of 10 compared to this other horrific stuff they're doing.
Yeah, and you look at even just look at some of the stats Craig was reeling off just in like everyday life with this pedophilia stuff. It's like one in, I think he said, don't quote me at this, I have to rewatch that podcast, but he said 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 people have had some form of sexual abuse. It's like the underpin, I'm a big believer in that's the glue that holds it together. Because once people find out what's really been going on here in terms of that stuff, that is the house of cards.
Yeah,
I believe
absolutely.
anyway. Yeah.
But if you can't come together for the children, and again, when we talk about this division and racism that's around at the moment, I don't know, people with children understand when you go on like a play date and at schools, and everyone's looking around, and there's kids of all different nationalities and stuff. All the kids are playing together. Like
They are.
no one is born racist or anything like that. This is all a result of programming. And yeah, there's absolutely a problem now with the evil cult that have infiltrated all religions. Don't just think it's like radicalized, Muslims or Arabs or whatever the media loves to push on it.
Mm.
A lot of Christianity now has been radicalized to try and support the different wars and all
Yep.
this stuff. So you could argue that for any faction or belief system or whatever. And again, if you have a belief system that you think you're better or different to other people, again, you're already putting up those barriers compared to treating everyone equally.
Mm. That's well said. Yeah. What do you see? Like, we'll get the crystal ball out here, Alex. I always ask my guests like this question. What do you see? How do you see the next 4 years? Well, what are we now? 2026. The 2030's right around the corner, isn't it now? Like, there was this big thing when I first woke up. Now it's 4 years away. What do you see happening in this 4 year period? Are we going to turn this ship around? And is there hope out there for us as the awakened community as well, but also for us out there that's the everyday Joe that maybe just has connected a couple of dots? Like, is there hope out there for us?
Uh, honestly think like they want the 2030 agenda, done by then, but I think it kind of feels like it's happening faster than that in some ways. And remember, if they want it done everywhere by then, I mean, maybe they want the digital ID and everything, in Australia by next year, because we seem to be a test bed for everything, right?
That's true.
Um, so just like you said before, say no. And World War Three, one of my predictions, and I even spoke about how it would probably kick off on February 28th because these people are into planetary alignments,
That's
and that was the
true.
major one for the year. So that World War Three literally kicked off to the day that I predicted. And if people they're going to start pushing like conscription, and they just sent Aussie soldiers over, I think yesterday, and they're going to
Mm.
drag Australia in, and maybe they'll do more false flags and drum up this hate for different countries to justify going to war with them. But if people wake up and just say no, like, I'm not going to war to die for these satanic pedophiles, these banking families or whatever.
Yeah.
So again, they can push another pandemic. Just say no. And again, I've heard that they're going to try and push it and target the kids this time, and so kids won't be able to go to school without getting, say, jabbed, and that will
Yeah,
also push.
right.
That will push it. Even people that are pretty awake. Can you imagine the pressure, the financial pressure you have on you, because you'd have to quit your job to look after your kids? That would be the only way. If the school says no, there's no exceptions or whatever. They'll put up the fear. You're a danger to everyone. The kid is a super spreader. They'll try and alienate your kid, and then it becomes into your child's mental health, and they're pulling on those heartstrings. So all these things the evil people are going to try and do. But if you're awake and know, and you've got other friends and whatever, there's ways around all this. And again, it's a lot easier if you're out of the city in a country
Mm.
with like-minded people, right? And that's why I think that's why one of the number one trends is just getting with some like-minded people, because there's plenty of people that like us that didn't get the jab and got through COVID or whatever. So there's always ways around all this stuff, but it just depends on people speaking up. And I think it's hard to gauge how many people are awake, but now we're at that point where if you share something on one of your socials, you'll be surprised how many people reach out to you or like it, or next time you're out, they might come up and be like, "Hey, I'm awake too," or something. Like, it's just to that point now where people are still kind of cautious about who they say it around. But I think we've hit this tipping point. I
I
was
think
at a
we have to.
40th the other day, and everyone was talking about this, and
Yeah,
no,
right.
none of these people were awake a year or two ago. And that, me and my couple of mates that have been awake for years are looking around. We didn't have to say anything. We're just looking around in amazement, like, wow, this is the Great Awakening.
Yeah. Oh, goosebumps. That's actually really cool. Yeah. I was just going to circle back to something you said. You were talking about the children thing, and that's interesting you say that because I have a feeling, I reckon it was 3 or 4 years ago during the whole COVID stuff, and I thought, because I'd already watched all the stuff about the child stuff, and I thought, well, they want the children anyway, so why not target them? And I thought they've targeted the whole world. I've always had that thought of feeling that maybe they would actually directly target the children with something. So that's interesting that you've said that because I've always thought that.
And we've already, I don't know if you're aware, but in Australia, if your child is unvaccinated, they won't even pay your daycare
That's
support.
true. Yeah.
And so we've seen in other countries like Canada where they'll take unvaccinated kids off parents. And this gets into these domestic terrorism laws that have been passed and how loosely worded they are. And so I think we're going to see stuff like, we're already seeing it, Facebook posts. You're a threat, you're a danger, domestic terrorist, or you're unvaccinated, you're a danger to everyone. You're like, they're just going to expand this definition.
Mm.
And this gets into why, if you're in the police force or if you're a doctor and you're starting to wake up, it's your duty to say no. Because, again, the small people at the top telling you to go and shoot that person with rubber bullets because they don't have a mask on, you've still
Hmm.
got your own conscience. And if it doesn't sit well with you, quit. And this is why we're seeing dwindling numbers of, police and health professionals refusing to get jabs and stuff. Because, again, it's a sign of the Great Awakening, right?
100%. I could literally sit here and talk to you for the next hour, mate. But if there's anything else you would like to share on the platform today, mate, Even if it's oh, actually, where can people find you first too? Like if someone's new to this, mate, like I've said Nuggets News, but are you on all? I think you're on all social platforms.
Yeah, Nuggets News on all social platforms, and Alex Saunders on Twitter is our other big one on X. Yeah, just keep being seeking the truth and speaking your truth, and you'll find that like every aspect of your life improves. And
Mm.
I think so many people are going to realize that the relationship they're in or the friends they have was based off all this inauthentic matrix stuff, and that's why we're seeing a lot of people. I went through that splitting up with my partner 5 years ago, and again, she's still kind of in the matrix and not awake to anything. And you can't be in a relationship with someone like that when your worldviews are polar opposite if they're not showing any signs of wanting to change. And that's what a lot of people I think are going to live through. And then you find a new group of friends or a new partner or whatever that's on the same journey, keen to wake up. And again, this just it goes hand in hand with health, happiness. So yeah, just keep being authentic, and you attract the right people to you. It's that energetic thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it creates that, and it literally creates that ripple. And I talk a lot about too in my content is like the more you change yourself, the more those mundane, as you were talking about relationships, friendships fall away, and you'll start like meeting and attracting in the right people that it's this beautiful thing, and you've created that, and you got to believe in that and trust that.
Yeah, and I guess finally, I'd encourage people to get into try some meditation or some yoga or some sort of spiritual self development practice. And if you can safely get your hands on psychedelics and do them in nature, and again, depending on what country you're in, got to put the legal disclaimer there. But nothing will free up your mind quicker than doing that in the right setting with the right intention to either heal yourself or just expand your consciousness. And once you realize that this I fully believe now that this body is just our meat suit and our consciousness, our spirit, our soul, whatever you want to call it, like resides within. And once that kind of gives you that no fear of death and all that type of stuff as well.
Yep.
So once you can overcome a fear of death, then everything else pales in comparison. Oh, I might not have enough money, or I might not have a girlfriend, or like it just none of it really matters once you just have no fear of anything. And that's where we need to get more people to that point. And it's happening now with your podcast or mine, whatever. Look at the effect now with thousands of people on all social platforms, all speaking truth and debunking all the lies like every day. And they're getting, it's only trending one way. So
Yeah, it
it's
is.
just,
Yeah.
it's things are going to get crazy like on the TV and what the government are saying and what the elites are pushing. But again, the opposite is going to be true as well. It's just going to be an incredible time for people that are waking up and outside the system.
I'm big on that we chose to be here for this time too.
Yeah, it feels like that, doesn't it? And I think
Mm.
again, our kids are going to play. I think there's more kids or star seeds, or even if you don't believe in any of the spiritual side of it, if more people are awake and teaching their kids these things from the young age, they are going to be the super awake next generation, right? And so maybe this is why they are going to need to target them more and more. Maybe that's
Mm.
why they want the vax schedule at 200
Yep.
jabs, in 10 years' time or whatever, because they actually need to physically poison the minds more and more because they know that there's a spiritual consciousness shift happening.
Yeah, I was just about to wrap it up, but now you've just got me off another tangent. I was having this conversation the other day. I believe the kids that were born after 2000, from like 2000 and 2010, like game changers, powerful souls. Then you got 2010, 2020, next level. And I reckon from 2020 to 2030, they're the ones that like the veil is just properly lifted for them. And it's like they fucking see it all. Some of the kids that I'm meeting that were born from 2010 to 2020, mate, if they weren't, and some of them haven't had any jabs at all, they are properly tapped in.
Yeah, no, I agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's so the mind boggles, right? And you can get into proof of reincarnation, the telepathy tapes, or these esoteric schools with the kids that are blindfolded, that are like reading and doing
Yeah.
sport blindfolded. Like there's and we know the D-class CIA documents about astral projection, remote viewing, like this is all real. Like people again can laugh and call conspiracy, but our brains and we're so much more powerful than we realize.
We are. And it's literally that moment of realization where everything changes too. And it was for me in 5, 6 years ago now. So.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, really appreciate your time, Alex. We could talk about this for hours, but you've said where people can find you. Nuggets News. Is there anything else you want to share, mate? Anything you got coming up, or you're all good there?
Nah, just keep trying to be the best version of yourself and being authentic, and yeah, you'll be amazed how quickly the world's going to change and whatever people do the right thing.
Yeah, 100%, and not the right thing that they were conditioned to do either.
No, no.
Nah, thank you for your time, mate. Really, really appreciate you jumping on and replying to my message and all that. So definitely keen to get you back on as this craziness continues, mate. So I have to circle back.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks for having me, mate, and good luck with everything. Take care.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening and watching wherever in the world you are. I'll chat to you all again soon. Cheers.